The shared border between Ireland and Northern Ireland will become an external border of the EU after Brexit. This raises the question of what this border will look like after Brexit in relation to trade and people. I'm interested in the movement of people under the Common Travel Area. What is the Common Travel Area? Well, it's a legal anomaly with a dual personality, because despite the relatively smooth operation of the CTA between the two states, it looks legally different depending on where you are, relying on different legal concepts and ideas in both jurisdictions. It's also a misnomer. For British and Irish citizens, it doesn't just cover travel, but also voting, living, working, social benefits and services. It isn't really common either. For example, take architecture. On arrival in Dublin Airport, everyone has to pass through passport control and show ID. There is nothing to show on arriving at Belfast Central train station, and there are special arrangements for flights from the Isle of Man, Channel Islands and Ireland at the London and no doubt many other British airports. The Isle of Man and Channel Islands are also part of the CTA. The CTA is for British and Irish citizens. Others may also benefit, but exceptions usually apply, especially for those requiring visas. For example, in the Peixeiro case in the Irish High Court, 2 Bolivian students got the Stranraer ferry and happily produced their passports in Scotland on entry, only to be detained and threatened with deportation as they had got no visa for entry to the UK. The issue was whether they could even return to Ireland to complete their studies. The High Court could not find in their favour, but noted the labyrinthine nature of the Common Travel Area for the unsuspecting and suggested a benign view be taken of their position. Despite the fuzzy nature of the arrangement and its legal complexity, it has facilitated the invisible border on this island and between the two states. This is significant where there are over 300 formal crossing points. Figures vary, in fact they vary quite dramatically, but there are between 13,000 and 30,000 frontier workers on this island. There is somewhere between 112,000 and 253,000 British in Ireland and around 600,000 Irish in Britain. Dublin-London is the busiest air route in Europe and the second busiest in the world, with 4.5 million people travelling a year. So we can safely say that the Common Travel Area matters. Hence, Theresa May, in her letter to Donald Tusk setting out British priorities for Brexit negotiations, indicated the desire to avoid a return to a hard border between the UK and Ireland, to maintain the Common Travel Area, to make sure that the UK's withdrawal from the EU doesn't harm the Republic of Ireland, and to do nothing to jeopardise the peace process in Northern Ireland, and to uphold the Belfast Agreement. The Belfast Agreement does not mention the Common Travel Area, but note that people in Northern Ireland can choose to be either British, Irish, or indeed both. What about EU citizens in the Common Travel Area? The UK and Ireland opted out of the Schengen Agreement, which in effect created an area without borders for those states who joined. This is partly a reflection of island geography and the Common Travel Area, which is expressly recognised in Protocol 20, which allows the UK and Ireland to maintain border controls in relation to other EU citizens. When the UK leaves, then Ireland will be the only member state with an express opt-out from Schengen. Under EU law, it cannot confer a more favourable position on third country nationals, and that is what British citizens will be after Brexit, over EU nationals without some sort of legal exception. The UK could legally join Schengen. There are non-EU states who are members, such as Iceland or Norway. This is unlikely politically, which means a unique arrangement, let's call it CTA2, is needed. The challenge is that, unlike the existing CTA, it will need to be much more clearly articulated and will inevitably be shaped by the rules governing the movement of goods between the two states. That is another story.